All right, so it'll be third and long, Ravenwood. 8:17 to go in the first quarter. Ball on the 46. Starr and Sullivan split left. Kimple Hubbard split right. Chance takes it, evades pressure, jump pass to Starr. Starr wide open, open field, takes it. Starr 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown! Jonathan Starr with a catch and run on the jump pass from Maverick Chance to put Ravenwood up 6-0 with 7:54 to go in the first quarter. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Ravenwood Raptors Football Weekly. I'm Paul Hickey with NoOffSeason.com. With me, as always, is the star of the show, Ravenwood head football coach Will Hester. How you doing today, Coach?
What's up, Paul? How are you?
I'm doing great. I mean, talked about all the analytics in the world last week, and then none of that mattered because everything went out the window against Franklin. But still, our guys got it done, 28-7. So congratulations on the win, going 8-0. That's a big accomplishment, of course. It wasn't pretty. Coach, how do you react to a game like this? You got to feel good about the win, but knowing what you've told me all season, I have to imagine that you're working on a lot in practice this week, or you're going to.
Yeah, I mean, to be quite honest with you, Paul, it's probably about the kind of game we expected. You know, coming off the bye week, having a lot of those kids having personal relationships with each other. They'd spent a lot of time together the week before. When you do all that, emotions kind of flare, which led to some of the penalty type stuff. And then, we had the one turnover, which was, kind of the combination of we had to play a different center due to an illness. And then, it wasn't necessarily a terrible snap, but it's just not what, the whole thing of that, it just gets you out of your deal there. So, that was our only turnover of the game. And so, those dead possessions we talk about and all that, I don't think was as bad. You're going to punt against good football teams, but the turnovers and, disappointed that we left the ball on the goal line a couple of times, some of which were due to penalties that, you go from second and goal at the 1 to 3rd and 16, right? Sometimes, you got to be better than that kind of stuff. But in the end, it was a big region win. We left some points out on the field, but as long as, the stat sheet, one more point than the opponent's the one that really matters, especially when it comes to league play. So now we know that we're playing for a region championship on November the 1st. And, we got a little game with a decent opponent before we get there.
Yeah, and to your point, like, we can talk about all the odd things that we hadn't seen out of our ball club until last Friday, all we want. But at the end of the day, they still got it done, 28-7. I mean, scoring 14 points in the fourth quarter, holding Franklin to, shutting out Franklin in the second half. I mean, and also more punts than we normally see, a couple more turnovers than we normally see. I guess technically, Caden Pace's fumble wasn't necessary. Well, it does say on the stat sheet 2 fumbles lost.
Bad. I was incorrect. We did have 2 lost fumbles. So yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for reminding me, Paul. I was trying to forget that. Thanks for bringing it up.
Sorry, Coach. The defense made it feel like it didn't matter, though, because on each of those turnovers, the defense came in and did such a great job.
I mean, there were times that the opponent had the ball on the 1-yard line and ended up having to go for it from the 30. So, I mean, it was definitely a different kind of game.
It was just a weird game. Like, we don't see those kind of penalties. We don't see those kind of goal line stands from the other team, but, 186 rushing yards on 40 carries for our squad to just 19 rushing yards on 28 carries.
Actually, that is a negative 19.
That's negative 19. You're right.
Yeah, they had 48 yards lost in sack yardage, which counts as rushing yards. So they rushed 28 times for negative 19 yards.
Good point. There are 2 dashes on the sheet that I'm looking at right now. So one is to separate and the other one is to make sure that it is negative. So good point there. Yeah, I mean, just a weird game overall, right? I mean, that's basically what we're trying to say going through this conversation. Just a weird game overall, but we got it done. And to your point, yeah, like building up to this game, it was a lot of talk about this being a very legitimate opponent. So absolutely, like to still get things done against a legitimate opponent and go 8-0 is a big deal. And one other thing we haven't talked about is there were a lot of pregame festivities and a lot of halftime festivities in this game as well. That probably at some level play into it when you have guys as part of the homecoming court that are on the team, things like that. But let's talk about Oakland, right? Because there's a lot to talk about with us going to Oakland to visit another 8-0 team, something we haven't seen yet this year. Oakland is not only 8-0, but they've played two schools that we've already played. They beat Independence in week 1 at Independence 35-0. And then they eked out a win at Blackman 13-12 just a few weeks ago. Coach, when you prepare for Oakland, do you just prepare for them like you know who they are all season, or do you look specifically at those games where they've played opponents that we've played and try to get something out of those two games specifically as well?
Yeah, I mean, the common opponents kind of help you learn a little bit about the teams, but in the end, in this day and age of technology and us trading film, they've got probably every game that we've played, we've got every game that they've played, and so you have the opportunity to go back and look at what they've done, their body of work throughout the year. Obviously, you spend a little more time on the recent games just because of there could be kids that have been injured or kids that have gotten injured and not in there and all those kinds of things. So, yeah, I mean, our routine is exactly the same. We have the same amount of knowledge about them and their team this year as we do Franklin or the school across the interstate or whoever. So prep is the same. We had our staff meeting on Sunday. We brought the kids in on Sunday, started installing the game plan, and had a good day of practice yesterday. And so, no, everybody's moving right along. I think it's actually a good time to play these guys. And the reason I say that is, if it was anybody else, we may be looking to next week, right? But because of who we're playing, it's easy to stay focused on what we have going on directly in front of us and the final regular season business trip of the year.
Certainly the biggest business trip that we've had since Alcoa. What do we look for out of Oakland? What are we preparing for exactly? Tell me about this Oakland team.
Yeah, very multiple offense. You're going to see some for the football diehards out there. You're going to see some wing T offense. You're going to see some old school I. You're going to see some spread formations, and you're going to see all that stuff with two super dynamic running backs that are also playing at receiver at times. You got Dwayne Morris, who's committed to USC, and a phenomenal football player, Mr. Football finalist last year. He'll be wearing number 17. You got number 10, Kamari Hill, who was at Oakland, transferred to Brentwood Academy, and is now back. Another young man who is, had Mr. Football level type season in his own right. So, and then a very experienced quarterback who's played, lots of games over the course of his career. So, offensively, they're a very experienced football team. Defensively, they're super aggressive. We'll play some man-to-man coverage. We'll have some opportunities for some big plays, and they'll have some opportunities to make some big negative plays. And we'll have to be prepared for that, have to do a good job in pass protection, have to do a good job, blocking in the run scheme. And then, obviously those dynamic guys, you got to be smart in the kicking game, right? Those guys are returners, and you can't put the ball willy-nilly out there on a kick and expect to tackle and get those guys on the ground. So you got to be super disciplined in how we're approaching special teams as well.
Yeah, certainly a game like this is likely to come down to those kinds of details and the execution of that kind of strategy. And certainly this is a game that everyone has been anticipating all season. So we're all excited for it to get here. I'm excited to be there. Coach, what are the ramifications, though, looking forward to the playoffs? It looks like we've guaranteed a November 8th game at Ravenwood due to our win this past week against Franklin. What are the playoff ramifications of coming out of this Oakland game with a win or a loss?
Zero. There are zero ramifications. So the only time a non-region game factors in is if there's a three-way tie, and in a three-way tie, overall record is one of the tiebreakers. So there will not be a three-way tie. us and Brentwood play head to head for a region championship, 2 weeks from now. Now, the only thing that could throw a little bit of a wrench in that plan is Independence beating Brentwood this week, because Brentwood and Independence are in region this week. So, but we are planning as if we'll be playing them head to head for a region championship a week from now, which I actually think it doesn't matter. Even if they lose to Independence, we would still have to win that game to be the region champion. So, from a tiebreaker perspective.
So that is the game with the playoff ramifications versus this week's game really just being a huge test.
Yeah, this one is nothing other than a measuring stick to see where you stack up against a great team. Depending on which poll you look at, it's 1 versus 2, 2 versus 1, 1 versus 3. There's probably 20 polls across the state for 6A teams, and we're both in the top 3 in every single one of those. So, I mean, what an unbelievable opportunity for these kids to play in a game like this. A lot of kids go through their high school careers never having a chance to play in a game like this. It's going to be a televised game. It's going to be on the local main sports radio station. It's going to be on Ravenwood.football. I mean, it's going to be all over the major media markets. And not there'll probably be 6,000 people in the house. So, I mean, an unbelievable opportunity just to play in a great high school atmosphere and a chance to leave your mark. A lot of the college guys call these games money games, right? This is how they make their money for the NFL draft and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of the same thing for us as well. These guys have a chance to make a name for themselves, whether it be with recruiting or just in local folklore. This is a money game for us. Time to go get paid.
It's a money game. I'm excited. And sounds like I got a little competition out there from a broadcasting standpoint,
Yeah, you better bring it. We need your best effort. None of this, whatever willy-nilly stuff. It's got to be your very best, Paul. You got to be on your P's and Q's.
Yeah, this is a measuring stick for me too, Coach. I mean, I gotta bring this strong against my competition. So
absolutely.
I get my ankles taped, baby. I'm ready to do it.
Yeah, tape those fingers up.
That's right. And get the lozenges ready, just to keep that voice going.
Maybe some honey tea or something about lunchtime on Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to get some honey tea and keep my voice strong. Got to stay alert for Friday night. Can't wait to be there at Oakland, 7 p.m. Central Time this Friday. Coach, we're all pumped. Anything you want to add?
I don't know. I mean, I may need some of this sports card strategy show merch. I mean, you're all merched up today. I mean, you got on the hat, the shirt, the microphone. Your brand is strong today.
Bringing it strong. I'll get you some merch, Coach.
All right, man. Sounds good.
I know where you are. I'll hook you up.
All right, brother. Hey, G2 bars always, Paul. Looking forward to a great Friday night.
Babalola fakes to pace, hands it to Hubbard. Hubbard all the way down 5, touchdown! Raptors, Ben Hubbard, the senior wide receiver, MTSU commit, scores his first rushing touchdown of the season. Hubbard showing the wheels.